What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Blake McLain, and I'm a music producer. So just fair warning, in case you haven't seen in my last couple videos, I got a kitten. His name is Motley, and he will probably interrupt a lot today. But I'm not going to put him up because I love him too much, and he's too cute. And he'll be good. He'll settle down here in a few, hopefully. He just gets excited the second I start doing videos. But that being said, today we're doing Ed Sheeran's new album. I've had a ton of requests for it. I've been waiting for this album for a very long time. I love Ed Sheeran. He provides like perfect examples for songwriting and just like modern songwriting, you know, and pop music and stuff like that. But he always twists them and turns them so they feel so real and organic and just, I don't know, there's something about them. And today, hopefully we can kind of dive into that a little bit with this new stuff and maybe pick apart a little bit of it and see why it's like that. But that being said, before we get started, as always, please give me a like, give me a subscribe if you enjoy the channel. If you want some extra content, I've got a lot on the Patreon. There's a link down in the description to the Patreon. Go check that out. Help support the channel. It means a ton when you guys go there. And also, I'm taking custom requests on my Twitch stream. I'm doing Twitch streams on Tuesdays and Sundays at 4. So sometimes I have to reschedule. But you can go join the chat and just, you know, type in requests the whole time, and I sit there for a little while and just kind of go through them. So yeah, it kind of gives everybody an opportunity to at least suggest something, and I get some really cool requests. If you are on the Patreon though, you can, I have like he just distracted me. If you are on the Patreon though, I have like a post that I make every week before I do the stream, and you can comment your requests there, and I guaranteed we'll do at least 3 of the Patreon requests. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump in. I'm excited for this. We're going to start with the first song, which is Overpass Graffiti. No, they just went to the radio. Hold on. Let me actually pull up the album. Ed Sheeran. No, buddy. That's not yours. Tides. All right, let's start with Tides. What you got for me, Ed? Hold on. Buddy. This is very Kings of Leon is what it sounds like.
Change, but I am still the same somehow. You know I've never been afraid of death, but now I wanna see the things that haven't happened yet. I still love getting out of my mind, I should cut it down. I still know people I don't like and I should cut them out. I feel embarrassed about the things that I did in my youth.
Notice his changes in rhythm from the verse to this like pre-chorus kind of thing. And the other thing is he's literally just staying on the same note the entire time all the way through it. And what that does is it just sort of encourages singability in the song. So it's easy for you to remember, it's easy for you to sing because it's only one note.
Now I have a child, I know one day that you will do it. Freight cargo, dock stops and airplanes, late night calls, signal is in and out again, feeling low. Serotonin and better days go, go, go. But every moment you're here with me, time
Nice.
stops to still.
Interesting. You know, there's been a lot of vocoders on music lately that I've listened to. I'm even using some vocoder in like a couple of the songs that I'm working on with my band Birds of Paradise. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's becoming like a trend. I heard it a bunch on Luke Hemmings stuff. Taylor Swift uses it all the time. Like there's a ton of artists that use it now. And I really didn't notice it very much until like recent years. But also notice the contrast from that pre-chorus into this chorus. Everything just opens up. And that's what you're going for. Build the tension, open it up. Build the tension, open it up.
When you are in my arms, it always will. Life is changing. Tide. I lost the confidence in who I was. Too busy trying to chase the high and get the numbers up. I have the same dream every night. A bullet through my brain the moment that I close my eyes. I still have to lean on the shoulder when I'm broken down. And I have people that depend on me to sort them out. I sometimes fantasize.
My only thing with this one is there isn't a very big contrast between the verse and that pre-chorus. It almost just feels like an extension of it. And for me, that's it's it's a little too long of an extension. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for something else to kind of come in, or like, I don't know, something to build it a little bit more there or bring it down a little bit more there to set it up for the chorus a little better.
I disappear without a trace. Have no regrets, but wish I did things in a different way. Low fly zone, lawsuits and film stars headlines.
Although that does really well, that call and response with the stacked harmonies behind it, that does pretty well for contrast there.
Princess in the face, scar, broken bones, break hands in Babylon. Go, 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 but every moment you're here with me. Time
That's my drink, buddy.
stops to still.
Come here.
When you are in my arms, it always will. And life is changing. Time. Time stops to still. When you
Those ahs in the back were pretty cool too. The screams, they almost sound like the yells at the end of, I think it's Cherry by Harry Styles. I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm thinking of.
in my arms, it always will. Life is changing.
Brilliant lyrics though, and I mean the song is pretty solid. It's a good opener for the album. All right, so let's go to Shivers. Even though I've done Shivers and I've done Bad Habits before, everyone always gets really mad when I skip the ones I've already done on an album. But I don't know if there will be like anything new for me to say, but I'll try.
I took an arrow to the heart. I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours. Strawberries and something.
Again with this, do you know what's really pulling me? Like pulling my ear and really almost getting me, and it's weird because it's almost like on the edge of annoying, but it's also kind of satisfying in an odd way. It's the hi-hat that's being used. It's the clicks for the hi-hat. It's like super high end, like they sort of push the high frequencies in it. So it's almost like, which high frequencies resonate like in your head, which is why, you know, you feel bass frequencies more down here. The high frequencies are up here, which is why people like tenor singers better that are guys. But with this, it's almost like an itch that you can't scratch. You know what I mean? It's almost getting me, but it's not quite there.
Ooh, yeah, I want it all. Lipstick on my guitar. Fill up the engine, we can drive real far. Go dancing underneath the stars. Ooh, yeah, I want it all. Got me feeling like I wanna be that guy. I wanna kiss your eyes. I wanna drink that smile. I wanna feel like my soul's on fire. I wanna stay up all day and all night. Yeah, you got me singing like, ooh, I love it when you do it like that. And when you're close up, give me the shivers.
So something interesting here too that I never noticed was if you pay attention to the verse, like when the verse comes back in, the bass is way farther forward than it is on this chorus. So that is kind of what helps open everything up for the chorus here. It's just kind of, it's placed differently, if that kind of makes sense. Listen and you'll hear it.
Oh, baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it right back. And we'll say, ooh, I love it when you do it like that. And when you're close up, give me the shivers. Oh, baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it right back. Into the car, on the backseat in the moonlit dark.
All right, so wait for that bass. Also, that transition from that chorus to that verse is just so smooth. It's so seamless.
Wrap me up between your legs and arms. Ooh, I can get enough. You know you could tear me apart. Put me back together and take my heart. I never thought that I could love this hard. Ooh, I can get enough. Ooh, you got me feeling like I wanna be that guy. I wanna
See here how heavy that is? It's actually a sub.
your eyes. I wanna drink that smile. I wanna feel like I
that's why, because then it goes to a real bass. Also, notice what they've added in now on the second chorus to make it just a little bit bigger than the first. It's the horns.
The shivers. Oh baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it
Whoops.
back and we'll say, ooh, I love it when you do it like that. And when you're closer, give me the shivers. Oh baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it right back. Baby, you burn so hot, you make me shiver with the fire. You got this thing you started, I don't want it to stop. You know you make me shiver. Baby, you burn so hot, you make me shiver with the fire. You got this.
And again, you just keep adding things back up. You know, one of the best ways to write songs, and I talk about this in a couple other videos and some of the stuff I do on like Patreon, is I'll always like write the last chorus first with all of the instruments, and then you can just use those as pieces throughout the song. So strip some away, you know, for the verse, and add like one in for the, you know, for the first chorus, then add two of them in for the second, then add all of them in for the last, you know what I mean? So you just kind of sit there and pull and put things back in throughout the song.
Started, I don't want it to stop. You know you make me shiver. Yeah, you got me singing like, ooh, I love it when you do it like that. And when you're closer, give me the shivers. Oh baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it right back. Oh no, say, ooh, I love it when you do it like that. And when you're closer, give me the shivers. Oh baby, you wanna dance till the sunlight cracks. And when they say the party's over, then we'll bring it right back. Hey.
Hey. I love how he does that. Okay, let's go to first times. There's Ed.
I thought it'd feel different playing Wembley. 80,000 singing with me is what I've been chasing, 'cause this is the dream. When it was all over,
Notice how even though this is very freeform, it still has that same line, tail little formula that I always talk about there.
cleared out the room, grabbed a couple beers, just me and you. Then we start talking the way that we do. Ain't it funny how the simplest things in life can make a man? Little moments that pass us by. Oh, but I remember the first kiss, the first night.
Where he is vocally, that's got to be kind of a difficult thing for him to do, because I mean, you really got to like the first kiss, the first time. Like he's really like just barely even letting it out, so it almost feels like he's on the verge of tears. It's very like Brand New, or oh my gosh, what's the other one? They sing at the bottom of everything. Like, as my father waters plants, as my mother waters plants, my father loads his gun. What song is that? Or who is that by? It'll hit me in a few minutes.
First song that made you cry, the first drink,
Bright Eyes.
red wine on a step in Brooklyn. I still feel the first fight. We both made it out alive, and I can't wait to make a million more first times.
Adding in that little bit of reverb now coming in, so everything is just growing a tad. And you know, that's the other thing about starting at the very beginning like that with your vocals so soft, is you have everywhere to go. You know, you've barely even touched on the tone in your voice or anything, so you can do that later in the song and it's gonna really hit nice, which I'm kind of hoping he does.
The greatest thing that I have achieved is 4 little words down on one knee. I said, darling, are you joking? And I just said, please.
There they are.
Ain't it funny how the simplest things in life can make a man? Little moments that pass us by.
That was waiting for some of the other instruments to kind of start coming in and start building this a little bit. Strings, perfect. Absolutely perfect choice. That's really kind of what I was itching for here.
But I remember the first kiss, the first night, the first song that made you cry, the first look in your eyes. When I said I love you, I can still feel the butterflies from when we stumbled home that night. I can't wait to make a million more first times. Ain't it funny how the simplest things in life can make a man? Little moments that pass us by. Oh, but I remember first kiss, first night, first song that made you cry, first dance.
This is perfect too. To have it like it is in the very beginning where it's very, very raw and he's in that whispered voice. Build it throughout the song and then bring it right back to where it started. It's one of my favorite things. You guys know I talk about it all the time. When things end the way that they start, because life is the exact same way.
Moonlight in your parents' garden, I can't wait to see everything that's yet to be. A first child and then a million more first time.
Man, and those lyrics too. Ooh, he gets you. He definitely knows how to get you. Wow, man. All right, so let's go to Bad Habits. Even though I've done that one a few times now, I'll still do it just for the sake of everybody so that, you know, nobody's like, you skipped one.
1, 2, 3. Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control.
Same line, tail. Here comes the tail line.
I can feel the paradise before my world implodes.
So actually, this is more like sections, like same line, tail section, you know? So here it kind of starts over, and that's just another method of doing things, you know?
And tonight had something wonderful. My bad habits lead to late nights sitting alone, conversations with a stranger I barely know, swearing this will be the last.
You know, he must have found this part of his voice because he did the same thing on First Times. I was noticing it a little bit. It's just very, very, very light, super close to the mic, and just sort of right up in here. My bad habits lead to late nights standing alone, conversations with a stranger. Like he's right up in there. And so, you know, I need to watch some of this live because I haven't seen him play Bad Habits live. But I'd be kind of curious as to how he does that. Maybe layering, you know, or something like that. Or maybe he does push his vocal a little bit more.
Probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use or do. My bad habits lead to white eyes stare into space, and I know I lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way out now.
Oh my gosh, there's a song this reminds me of. Oh, wow. What is it?
Nothing happens after 2. It's true, it's true. My bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you.
This is gonna bother me now. It's like an 80s or 90s song. This is really gonna bother me. And I wanted to say like Sade, but I know it's not.
My bad habits lead to you.
It's not on Blue Dub. It's not. There's no way it's that. I'm blue. Da-ba-dee-da-ba-da-da-ba. Maybe it is. Oh, I hate it. I'm so mad. That's exactly what it is.
Every pure intention ends when the good times start. Falling over everything to reach the first time spark. It started on the neon lights and then it all got dark. I only know how to go too far.
see what he does there. So same thing as the last song, as in First Time. He starts so light and so, airy, that it provides him with room. You know what I mean? He has a place to go vocally. I don't know why I'm like talking so weird today. This is weird. It's like it's happening in my brain and I just can't quite get it out of my mouth. But anyways, so there you kind of heard him all of a sudden put a little bit of grit into it and really feel it. And then you can push that second chorus a little bit more. And then the third chorus, obviously, even more than that.
Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use, or do my bad habits lead to white eyes staring into space? And I know I lose control of the things that I say.
Maybe it's not the blue. It is a little bit of that, but there's one more, and it's going to bother me for a very long time, and I probably won't think of it for days, and then I'll just wake up in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden it'll hit me.
Far away, now I can't escape. Nothing happens after two. It's true, my bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you.
Also, just to note this, I know I've paused a lot in these songs, but there's just so much to talk about that I can't even grab onto everything. This is a perfect example of call and response, the entire song. You're constantly switching that space, which is one of the most important elements in music, is space. You're constantly switching out what is in that space and leading up to each one of those things every single time with the one prior to it. So it always feels like it's pulling your ear. There's something new happening. Love this part.
Conversations with a stranger I barely know.
And again, that's the tension that you built during that bridge. If you watch my video on arrangement, which I'm about to do another one probably in the next 2 days to explain a little bit more behind some of the most basic types of arrangements in modern pop music. It's all about tension, and in that bridge, the bridge is the most tense part of a song. So you're building it, and then to have that release right here where it goes into that chorus, but it all opens up. So everything that you've added in just goes away. It just feels so good. And, the human brain loves that.
Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use, or do my bad habits lead to white eyes staring into space? And I know I lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way out, now I can't escape. Nothing happens after two. It's true, my bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you. My bad habits lead to you.
Yeah, man. It is a killer song. And I've heard it a billion times now, but it's still a good song. Okay, so let's go to Overpass Graffiti. What a name for a song. All right.
This is a dark parade, another rough patch to rain on.
This is so 80s. It's unbelievable. And it's got about the same beat, which I'm very happy that some of these are actually being used again, because it was kind of it was getting a little oversaturated because everybody was using basically the same beats for a while and just completely ignoring the old ones because they didn't work as well with I don't want to say like pop drums, like MIDI drums and, like 808s and things like that, because that was the trend. But now people are getting back into it, and I think it's sick. And it's because of the whole like kind of 80s wave thing. But it has about the same beat as like Footloose, and there were a ton of songs back then that had that doom ga doom ga 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 boom ga boom ga ga ga, and it's just, it makes you want to get up and dance. It makes you want to move.
To rain on. I know your friends may say this is a cause for celebration. Hip hip hooray, love. Photographs and sepia tones, so still the fire's barely fighting the cold.
Also notice how the chorus is more elongated melody-wise as opposed to what the verse was. The verse is super rhythmic. So again, it's all about that contrast. You'll find that's what I talk about more than anything, but it's listening for that contrast that's important.
On the overpass, I know time may change the way you think of us, but I remember the way we were. You were the first to stop. Love that will never leave. Baby, you'll never be lost on me. This is a goddamn shame. I never wanted to break.
So notice now what they've done with the second verse. They've added in kind of that little arpeggiated synth that they brought in on the chorus, so it pushes it a little bit more. And you know, guys, I do want to say something. I know that a lot of times, like, this isn't necessarily a conventional reaction, but really and truly, my goal here is not even to teach you guys like how to be music producers or anything like that, but just how to. I want to teach you how to be able to listen to music in a different way, in a better way, like just elevate the way that you listen to music so that you can appreciate it even more, because it's amazing. Once you start hearing these things, you feel music even more. It's so cool, and it's such a difference. And all of a sudden you'll just kind of wake up one day and it'll sort of just be there in your brain. Won't it, buddy? It's happening to you already.
Leave us tainted. No, I should walk away, but I just can't replace us or even erase us. The car stuck, the engine stalled, and both of us got caught out in the snow, alone. There were times when I forget the lows and think the highs were all that we'd ever known. The cards were stacked against us both. I will always love you for what it's worth. We'll never fade like graffiti on the overpass.
One of the other things about this kind of a beat too is you really don't have to change it very much. You can go halftime with it, so you can go to doom, go, but you don't necessarily have to drop it out all the time, bring it back in, drop it out, bring it back in, like you do with a lot of other tempos. But it just kind of sets the groove for a drivey song, you know what I mean? And so you just kind of leave it there for the vast majority of the time. And if you listen to any other songs that do the same thing or have the same sort of beat, you'll find that they all kind of do the exact same thing in that way. They all just sort of stay on it the entire time and let it drive the song.
I know time may
He is in my jacket now, fully.
change the way you think of us, but I remember the way we were. You were the first full stop. Love that will never leave. Baby, you will never be lost on me. Lost on me. Baby, you will never be lost on me. Lost on me. I will always love you for what it's worth. Never fade like.
Now that was interesting. There might have been a hint of a vocoder there, but that was mostly stacked harmonies. So that's just literally singing your harmonies. Like you'll double them, you'll pan them. You just end up with like a massive stack of vocals. Sometimes like I've seen them get up to like 30 takes, sometimes 40. Like it's crazy.
On the overpass, I know time may change the way you think of us, but I remember the way we were. You were the first full stop. Love that will never leave. Baby,
But you can't stop the beat. Oh man, why?
you'll never be lost on me. Lost on me.
Someone please make a mashup. Please make a mashup.
Graffiti on the overpass.
It's a good song too. I like how he's playing with all these reverbs and things like that, and this kind of just a bigger sound with his vocal. It's cool. Okay, so let's go to The Joker and the Queen, which all I think of is Wolfmother, the Joker, and the Thief. So let's see what this sounds like. It's like
How
complete
was
opposite.
I to know?
Same notes as Bad Habits?
It's a crazy thing.
Wait.
Every time you come around,
Yeah, he was really kind of obsessed with that little melodic change, wasn't he?
how was I to know? It's a crazy thing. I showed you my hand, and you still let me win.
Bless you.
And who was I to say that this was meant to be? The road that was broken brought us together, and I know you could fall for 1,000 kings
Ooh.
and hearts that would give you a diamond ring.
And there's that vocal spot again. This might be my favorite song so far. I like this. The lyrics are fantastic. It's very intimate. It's just very real. I mean, this one feels like it just probably flooded out of him.
When I fold, you see the best in me.
Go to a minor.
The Joker and the Queen.
I love this song. This is fantastic. Wow, how original. I mean, like, I love it. I'm always looking for concepts and stuff like that, but this just lyrically builds so well. You know, there isn't much to talk about production-wise, but lyrically and where he is vocally, like, this just works. This is one of those songs that, like, you finally listen to. You know, I'm a firm believer. In fact, if you haven't read this book, I have this book. It's called The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten. My bass player's been trying to convince me to read it for an eternity, and I finally just read it. It will change your whole perspective on music. It's amazing. But I just read it, and honestly, one of the things that I got out of it is that, you know, when you're in tune with music, like you don't think about music as necessarily something that you're creating, because humans don't actually create things. Like, the knowledge is already there. You know, we have the ability to take in knowledge and then to apply that knowledge. And music is already there. The song is already there. You just have to listen for it. And when you are listening for it and you are feeling it and you're doing what music kind of tells you to do, like thinking of music, they all actually, like, Victor Wooten describes music as like her, which is really cool, like an entity. And it's like when you listen to it and you work with music and you allow it to, you know, shape itself and you just kind of help mold it, you end up with songs like this. And that's why they all of a sudden are written so quickly. Like, they just come. And this just feels to me like something that he finally just sort of listened to what was around him and it all shaped itself. I don't even know if any of that makes any sense, but you should read the book. It will probably make sense if you do.
I was upside down from the outside in. You came to the table and you went all in with a single word and a gentle touch. You turned a moment into forever, and I know you could fall for 1,000 kings and hearts. I could give you a diamond ring.
And notice what he's doing with his vocal. Again, he gave himself a place to go with it. So now he's pushing a little bit farther forward and really giving it what it needs. This song is just gorgeous.
You see the best in me, the Joker and the Queen.
How very Willy Wonka sounding too. It's very pure imagination.
give you a diamond ring when I fall.
Oh, damn.
You saw the best in me, the Joker and the Queen. The Joker and Queen.
Wow. I realize I didn't say a lot in this one about, again, production or anything, but for me, just listening to that was an experience that, dare I say, is the best song that Ed Sheeran has ever written. If you ask me, that is a good song. I haven't heard a song like that in a very long time. That's something else, man. And Ed, if by some odd chance you watch this, dude, you know, every once in a while I'll talk to like some of the artists on here and I'll just say the same things, you know, about their music and stuff. But man, this is yours. That, if there was anything ever that you should be proud of, it's that song. Whew. Wow, shit. All right. After that, let's go to Leave Your Life. Felt like an episode of, that felt like a whole season of Grey's Anatomy. That left me with like feels.
If I forget to say goodbye before I catch the plane.
That little reverse piano is cool. So using it as like a percussive piece is sick. Okay, well, buddy, can you not? Okay. Like I said, sorry, he will kind of interrupt things.
Would you know the way that I feel when I'm away? We'll see the same sky tonight, but the stars are out of place. You'll never know the way to my heart every time I leave you, babe.
This is also doing something that the first time I ever heard it was in Niall Horan's Slow Hands. You know, on his verses, they cut on like the end of the on the end of the word, so like the breath isn't really there, and it just almost feels like it cuts it in the middle of the vocal. It's kind of crazy. It's like using a noise gate on it, but I haven't heard it since, and this is the first time I've heard it. I mean, like I said, I haven't heard it since. What is wrong with my brain today? But it's cool. I love that effect.
It's hard to break the landing, but I'll see you again. I'm never gonna leave your life, even at the times I'm miles away. You are always on my mind, forever and now we'll be by your side. I know we can change from day to day, but this love will keep alive. I'm never gonna leave you.
Starting to bring in the synths, starting to create that atmosphere a little bit more, because it felt so dry up to this point.
I'm never gonna leave your life. Oh, I can never tell you lie or put in words your finest trait. The darkest green and hazel lights, and yet
That phaser on it.
can't describe the shade. You are all this heart of mine, and there you will remain. You'll never know the way to my decisions when I leave your smiling face. It's hard to understand.
Here I'm bringing in that beat just with the low frequencies a little bit. Again, that's just so you can open it up, which I'm assuming it's going to open up a little here.
But I'll see you again. Oh, I'm
There it is.
never gonna leave your life, even at the times I'm miles away.
You can't.
You are
Please hold, guys. Buddy, you can't go up that way. Come here. Come here. Come here, bud. See why I can't leave him alone? He will just be into everything. Hang up here, okay? If that's what you want.
always on my mind. Forever and now we'll be by your side. I know we can change from day to day, but this love will keep alive. I'm never gonna leave
in response there with those stacked harmonies and then the centered vocal again.
Never gonna leave your life. It's hard to break the landing, but I'll see you again. I'm never gonna leave your life, even at the times I'm miles away.
Oh, and the hits. See, that is the whole purpose of that. And that is so cool to have it like where you actually layer all the instruments on top like that. And then you do the go, go, and pull everything out. And so those, again, I talked about space in the last song. Actually, it was the song before that, I believe. But that space is so vital. When you all of a sudden showcase that space, it does the exact same thing as an instrument. Silence is an instrument too. And it's kind of cool to think of it that way.
You are always on my mind. Forever and now we'll be by your side. I know we can change from day to day, but this love will keep alive. I'm never gonna leave your life. I'm never gonna leave your life. If I forget to say goodbye before I catch the plane, would you know the way that I feel when I'm away?
And those were definitely reversed strings too. I mean, you can just kind of tell, and there's a piano behind them too. So they kind of layered it. But it's cool that, again, they use that as an instrument, as like a rhythmic piece. All right, let's go to the next song. You are playing like a jungle gym right now, bud. He is only 7 weeks, so, he gets a pass for a little while. All right, let's go to Collide. Ooh, that was cool to take that I don't even know what instrument that is, but I know it's used like a lot in, I know it's a wind instrument, but it's used a lot in like movies and cinematic stuff. To have that all of a sudden in the beginning swell in and tie in with his vocal was a really cool thing.
Oh yeah, we've been in the rain, been on the rocks, but we found our way. We've ordered pizza to an aeroplane, slept on the beach like we were castaways. We've been in the storm, been to an Irish bar in central Rome, driven to hospitals with broken bones. We shared a toothbrush and shared our home.
He's one of the only pop artists, aside from like Taylor Swift, that gets away with being extremely specific in his songs. Because when you are overly specific, for one, you run the risk of it not being able to be used in like anything, which is why a lot of smaller artists don't be specific. Or are not specific. Don't be specific. That was a weird place to put that, but aren't specific in their songs because then it cuts where you can be placed, for things. But also it has like the only other genre that really does it is country music. Everything is like a little mini movie that's overly specific, but he gets away with it in his music, which is cool. It's also probably because he's Ed Sheeran and can do whatever he wants.
We've seen the moon reflect on the rolling tide, been up at 5 a.m. watching the sunrise, because the world looks better when I'm by your side. Oh why, oh why, oh why, when you and I collide, you bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life. You bring me to life. When you and I collide.
There's that vocoder again. I feel like some of these songs are going to grow on people. They might take a little bit of time, but I think they're going to grow on people because, lyrically in some places they're fairly basic, but that's also the beauty of what Ed does, because he can bring the basic to life. It's cool and it's amazing and it just shows his mastery.
You bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life. You bring me to life. the blossom fall to earth like snow. Fumbled in cubicles in Tokyo, and been to funerals in rented clothes. We drank your father's whiskey when your grandma died. You brought me to the morning through my darkest night. Yeah, the world hurts less when I'm by your side. Oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, when you and I collide.
So notice how they took that high harmony of the oh, why, oh, why. They took it and they actually used that to swell and transition into that chorus. I'm going to back it up again so you could hear it.
Side. Oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, when you and I collide.
That way it feels like everything continues to move and it doesn't necessarily stop, and it's not like, it's just not rocky, you know?
Bring me to life. You bring me to life. You bring me to life. When you and I collide, you bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life. Yeah, you bring me to life.
And then they did the exact same thing. They did the exact same thing there to move into this like bridge.
Dreamers colliding, universe colliding. Your love let the light in. Head first colliding, dreamers colliding, universe colliding.
This actually kind of sounds like something Coldplay might write.
We made love in the sky, overslept and missed the northern lights. You lost your wedding ring, but I didn't mind, 'cause I got a feeling, baby, we'll be fine.
It's a sweet song though. Man, makes me want to write something like that. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, so two-step.
I had a bad week, spent the evening pretending it wasn't that deep. You could see in my eyes that it was taking over. I guess I was just blind and caught up in the moment. You know you take all of my stress right down. Help me get it off my chest and out into the ether with the rest of this mess that just keeps us depressed. We
Same
forget
line.
that we're here right now.
Jeez, same line, tail. And now he's definitely moving into a little bit more of that. Let me see. Actually, he normally kind of stays down in that like 100 BPM, like anywhere from like 80 to like 105 is where a lot of his songs kind of sit. But this does have a little bit more of that like Post Malone's Sunflower kind of spot. That's where it's sitting rhythmically.
'Cause we're living life at a different pace, stuck in a constant race. Keep the pressure on, you're bound to break. Something's got
There
to
it is,
change.
dude.
We should just be canceling all our plans and not give a damn if we're missing out on what the people think is right. Seeing through a picture behind a screen and forget to be. Lose the conversation for the message that you'll never read. I think maybe you and me, we should head out to the place where the music plays, and then we'll go all night.
Love it. So the reason, again, that works so well, and this is why I've talked about it a bunch of times, this is why when you have a hip-hop artist like on the verses and then you have somebody else doing the choruses, it works so well. It's because of that contrast. One, you have somebody speaking on the verse, and a lot of times they'll do something extremely rhythmic or extremely fast. You know, we're constantly changing that rhythm, but it's not necessarily a melody, so that when that chorus comes in, that hook comes in, it's just a huge contrast. It's like that release is just it's astronomical. Like, it feels so good, and it works even better most of the time than just having like sung melody on the verse, sung melody on the chorus.
Woman I love, all my troubles standing up, and when I'm in your eyes, electrified, we'll keep turning up and go all night. And we had dips and falls in our time, but we know what it feels to be low then up, alone then love, and all we need is us to go all night.
There's that use of space again too, and they played off of the breath.
Just stepping with a woman I love. Night, yeah. All we need is us. What do you reckon? Is it just me? What Words are weapons and occasionally they cut deep. Crisis of confidence, it tends to come when I feel the dark and I open my heart. If you don't see it, you should trust me. I feel like I got nothing left right now except this beauty.
No kick, anything like that here. That way there's space for it whenever it comes in and it feels like it hits even harder.
Dress right now.
So no bass frequencies.
She got me feeling like the best and the rest are just less than she needs. So we press play and step to the beat. Cause we're living life at a different pace, stuck in a constant race. Keep the pressure on, you're bound to break. Something's got to change. We should just be cancelling all our plans and not give a damn. Head out to the place where it plays and we'll go all night. Two-stepping with a woman I love. All my troubles standing up and when I'm in your eyes, electrified. We'll keep turning up and go all night. And we had dips and falls in our time, but we know what it feels to be low then up, alone then love. And all we need is us to go all night.
And now it's even bigger than that first one. You have the giant, like, oh my gosh, the noise. Jeez, my brain today. God, this is just frustrating. This is so frustrating. I can't even think of like the words. It's not a noise oscillator. It is white noise. Wow, the white noise hit. So you hear the that kind of a thing whenever it comes in. It's almost like in place of a crash.
All we need is us to go all night. Two-stepping with a woman I love. Yeah. All we need is us to go all night.
All right. Okay, so let's go to Stop the Rain.
Another human cloud to bring you down when you blew the last away. And bring out
Gosh, she's really obsessed with like these 16th note beats on all of these songs. Like everything is really upbeat and just like faster paced than I was expecting. He's probably trying to get away from what he's done in the past somehow, you know?
crown, but for me they look the same. Sometimes it can get old.
Also, the jungle theme with everything. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but there's definitely like a jungle theme here. Like the background music almost reminds me a little bit of Donkey Kong.
Much for me, and that's why the photograph gets burned, though the matching gasoline. Hey, don't let the ones who hurt you see you cry. Tomorrow is another day. You cannot stop the rain, no way. Holding an umbrella when the gray clouds come over.
All right, so that's another awesome way to bring in a hook. You can either go really big or you can bring it down into the beat like this. The Weeknd has done it like a ton with Daft Punk. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of songs out there that do it. Charlie Puth has done it he did it on Attention. He did it on How Long. Dua Lipa does it all the time, but you have everything build, and then you just bring it down to bass and vocal and like kick drum. And then you have everywhere to go from there, so you can build it right back up. And that's just kind of, again, another arrangement technique, you know? But it hits hard. It feels so good.
Again, trying to find something real, but it's not the game they play. Pretending that the weather is in your mind and you got no one
And as this goes, listen to the elements that are slowly added in.
to blame. But that's just the way I feel. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah. Another I may mind to blur the lines between love and then heartbreak. Oh, it's a lonely life, the kid in your eye, and always shifting blame. And every time it's getting more and more ugly, and that's why the photograph gets burned, throw the magic gasoline. Hey, don't let them tell you keep it
So pull out the bass so that you can bring that bass back in here.
all inside. I know the winds have got to change. Cannot stop the rain, no way. Holding an umbrella when the gray clouds come over again.
I like this.
Trying to find
I like this a lot. This sits really well. It's just perfectly balanced.
something real, but it's not the game they play. Pretending that the weather is in your mind and you got no one to blame. But that's just the way I feel. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah.
He looks
And it
terrified.
seems like time
Oh, he looked terrified.
can be so much more than a wake-up call and a real life. Every day is a chance that we can't start over and read my mind.
And again, with the call and response, he does this a lot with the harmonies, the stacked harmonies. So he'll have those and then he'll do the centered vocal and then do those again, have the centered vocal. So it constantly feels like it's pushing and pulling your ear.
There'll be ups and downs, but it won't change a thing between you and I. There's one thing I can't change, you cannot stop the rain, no way. Holding an umbrella when the gray clouds will come over again. Trying to find something real, but it's not the game they play. Pretending that the weather is in your mind.
A little bit of like Stevie Nicks there on the guitar.
God knows.
Just like the white-winged dove, sings song sounds like she's singing.
To blame, but that's just the way I feel. You cannot stop the rain, no way. Holding an umbrella when the gray clouds come over again. Trying to find something real, but it's not the game they play. Pretending that the weather is in your mind and you got no one to blame. But that's just the way I feel. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah. You cannot stop the rain. Yeah, yeah.
And that's very Michael Jackson. Cannot stop the rain. Like he's very like, cannot stop the rain. It's very, very, very rhythmic and very cut.
Can't stop the rain. Can't stop the rain. Can't stop the rain. Can't stop the rain. Can't stop the rain.
Ooh. Beautiful.
Can't stop the rain. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Beautiful spot to go there at the end. I wasn't expecting that at all, but I loved it. Okay, so let's go to Love in Slow Motion.
It's been a while since we've been alone.
It's very rom-com.
So turn off the world and the telephone. I need to tell you you're beautiful, 'cause it's been a while. And I apologize.
This actually sounds like he might have written it back with Divide and ended up waiting. I don't know. It just has that feeling. You know what I mean? It's a little bit folkier. The instrumentation's even a little bit folkier.
I just get caught up in the rat race I'm running, chasing a moment I'm hoping is coming. If I stop to take a look around, it's in front of my eyes. Baby, let's slow down time. Maybe just press rewind, darling. That dress.
This is building beautifully, though. Again, it feels like that era, but the way that each section moves into the next is just incredibly smooth. But there is contrast with the rhythm of the melodies there.
Reminds me of the first time, and I wanna love tonight.
Yeah.
One-on-one by the candle.
And I love that grit that he sometimes gives.
Over and over we spend our lives, living fast forward but not tonight. Love in slow motion.
Then you bring it back down, then you start adding everything back in. Guaranteed drums come in here.
It's been a while since it was you and me.
Oh, maybe not. I thought it was going to be like a more full kit.
Too many friends, too many evening drinks. Yeah, we commit to so many things, but not to ourselves. And I apologize. Sometimes you're sad and you tell me it's nothing, and I brush it off because there's always something. But I need to
Same line, tail. I'm just going to say it over and over and over again until you guys start hearing it.
change my perspective and prioritize. 'Cause one thing I know is this: every moment missed can be restored with your lips. It only takes one kiss, and I wanna love tonight. One-on-one by the candlelight.
Also, the 3/4 time is what's given me that just that I don't know, like pub feel. You know what I mean?
Over and over we spend our lives, living fast forward but not tonight. Love in slow motion.
Oh, the little vibrato. Ooh. He really lets that kind of go, and I like it. And he kind of like comes in, like just edges into it or eases into it.
Love tonight, one-on-one by the candlelight. Over and over we spend our lives, living fast forward but not tonight. Love in slow motion, one love tonight. One-on-one by.
You bring in the full guitar at the very end. Again, you know, you just have to start kind of listening for some of those differences, those changes, so you can totally feel them and know where everything is. Because it does make a difference when you hear those things, because it's just like you can feel the impact more because you know it's there.
Candlelight, over and over we spend our lives, living fast forward but not tonight. Love in slow motion, in slow motion, in slow motion. Slow motion, slow motion.
That's the one. I was waiting to hear that harmony. In slow motion. Wow. Beautiful song. Beautiful song. All right. Okay, so I am going to skip visiting hours. I know I said I wasn't going to on some of these, but I've done that one like 3 times now. I did like a prediction, I did the actual live one, and then I did it again like on the Patreon. So I'm not going to do that one here, but we're going to go into Sandman. Interesting. Like I said, so jungly, using that kalimba and everything.
You were loved before you had a right. And every day that love just multiplies. Daddy made your bed and your lullaby. Mama made the mobile in the sky. Loving you is easy.
You know what he needs to do? You know, Kenny Loggins, a long time ago, made like a kids album, and my parents used to play that for me like every single night when I was like a baby. And that's what I would fall asleep to and stuff like that. And I know a ton of other parents did the same thing. He had like Who's Corner on there that, oh my gosh, all my guitar isn't out, but I can play it on guitar. I learned it, so one day, you know, when I have a kid, I'll be able to kind of play it for him. But it's that one that's like, Christopher Robin and I walked along under branches lit up by the moon, posing our questions to Al and New York as our days disappeared all too soon. So like you kind of maybe remember it a little bit, but Ed Sheeran needs to do a kids album. That would be so sick. Oh man, he would crush it too.
Life will not always
Just for fun.
fall into the world of your song. Whatever you feel can never be wrong. Come along for the ride, and in a shake of a lamb's tail we'll go. Be still now and close your eyes and dream, hanging out with the Sandman. You look so sweet, my child.
And this is so simple, but it's very, very, very well done. And to have the little tiny, like, you know, hits on the kalimba where it's following the melody just gives it a little bit of the oomph that it needs to continue to stay interesting.
Hanging out with the Sandman.
Assuming this grows though.
Though there's rain outside, you'll be warm and dry. The thunder and the lightning won't hurt you now. So go to sleep, my.
Actually, this sounds like Love Bug by the Jonas Brothers. Oh man, how did Love Bug go again though? I just know the thing does. I used to play that song all the time. We're gonna listen to it here in a minute.
Hanging out with the Sandman.
Sick. That's right. So it was like, called you for the first time yesterday. Well, that was a little off. But finally found the missing part of me. I felt so close, but you were far away. Left me without anything to say. And then that chorus is what's reminding me here that Now I'm speechless, over the edge, I'm just breathless. I never thought that I'd catch this love bug again. That's what it reminds me of just a little bit. Excuse my pitchiness, by the way, today. You guys know I'm already all over the place.
Chocolate-covered roof and candy cars, rainbow sugar river we can sail upon, marshmallow books and strawberries, snowman made of ice cream. Over the flower fields we'll fly, we'll count the fish in the sky, honeybees and birds sing your song. Whatever you feel can never be wrong. Come along for the...
Notice how the strings are just sort of creeping in. It's not overloading the song. It's not overwhelming at all. There's just little tiny things that are slowly being implemented, you know, just kind of thrown at you, and then they take them away, and then they bring them back.
And then a shake of a lamb's tail will go. Be still now, close your eyes and dream. Hanging out with the Sandman. You look so sweet, my child. Hanging out with the Sandman. Though there's rain outside, you'll be warm and dry. The thunder and the lightning won't hurt you now. So go to sleep, my love. Hanging out with the Sandman.
So simple. So simple. Like, I mean, I don't even know what to say about this 100%. Does he have a kid yet? I don't know. I don't really keep up with a lot of that stuff. But if he does, then this is totally for his kid. And it's probably 4 minutes long, 4.5 minutes long, just so he could play it and probably put the kid to sleep. Like, you know, throughout the song. And I guess you could just kind of keep doing it, you know, but that's so cool. And you can feel that this comes from a real place. And that's what I love about it.
Shake up the lamb's tail will go. Be still now, close your eyes and dream. Hanging out with the Sandman. You look so sweet, my child. Hanging out with the Sandman. Although there's rain outside, you'll be warm and dry.
This is by far my second favorite song on here. He needs to write a kid's book about it too. That would be cool. You know, Jimmy Buffett did that, which my dad is the biggest Jimmy Buffett fan. He wants to go to Margaritaville all the time, like he wants to retire there, and my mom was like, no, we're not doing that, and I'm like, please don't do it. He just loves Jimmy Buffett so much. And there was a song when I was a kid called Jollyman, and my dad used to play it for me all the time, and they bought me the book too, like the kid's book, and I remember the whole thing so vividly and so specifically, and I would read that book all the time. And I wanted my band Birds of Paradise to cover that song because I thought it'd be kind of cool. But he needs to do a kid's book for this. I think it would be a brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant. Ed Sheeran might have just opened himself up an entirely new area in his career, which I think he would thoroughly enjoy.
The thunder and the lightning won't hurt you now. So go to sleep, my love. We're hanging out with the Sandman. We're hanging out with the Sandman. We're hanging out with the Sandman. We're hanging out with the Sandman.
Slightly detuned. Okay. Interesting. All right. Last song, Be Right Now. Let's go. All right. What a way to end it.
A lifetime starting to feel like it's falling short of the mark. But it's all that we got.
same line, tail. I have a thought about this song. I'm gonna wait to say it because I want to see where this goes, but we'll see.
Every teardrop, every mountain, made the moment we found, and it's coming around, 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 around. I don't wanna miss one thing. We can turn the whole world down and listen to the in between. We are the sound. There's nothing but the space we're in. The hurry and the noise shut out. Just stay here and be right now.
Not a huge fan of this one. I'm not gonna lie. Not a huge fan. I'm still gonna say what I'm gonna say at the very end because I still want to see where it goes, and I just don't want to like completely throw it out yet and give you guys my idea. But it's really just like extremely, I don't know, indynamic. It's not very dynamic.
The shadow.
It's actually very 30 Seconds to Mars, especially that right there. It sounds very 30 Seconds to Mars from like their This Is War era, you know?
Cling to the ceiling and fracture the light that lands in our eyes. Every moment changes the whole view, and just when it ends.
Except Jared Leto will be going up into that high octave part for this chorus, and that would really give it what it needs, but I don't think Ed can do that here. If he does, I'm gonna be
Feel
surprised.
it again, 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 again. I don't wanna miss one thing.
Yeah, see, it needs to go up the octave there to really get it really going here. And it's just because it's so consistent the entire song, you know, where that kick is and everything, it really doesn't change. And what like 30 Seconds to Mars would do, which I love that album, is on that pre-chorus, he would come in keeping that, you know, lower octave on the vocal, but then having the higher one pushed back behind it. And then he would come in with that higher one, full voice, pushed right up front for the chorus.
We can turn the whole world down and listen to the in-between. We are the sound. There's nothing but the space we're in. The hurry and the noise shut out. Just stay here and be right now. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Stay here and be right now. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Stay here and be right now. I don't wanna miss one
That was
thing.
interesting.
I don't wanna miss.
It almost sounded like he was like sniffling or like crying there, which was kind of interesting, but I think it was actually just a shaker.
We can turn the whole world down and listen to the in-between. We are the sound. There's nothing but the space we're in.
That's cool.
The hurry and the noise shut out. Just stay here and be right now.
Now that is cool. That's nice. I like that. I wish that was implemented a little bit more in the song, you know, like that feel. I don't know if I liked that drive the entire time, you know. I think that might have taken away from it just a little bit. But what I was gonna say is I think this song should have probably been up. I was gonna say it should have been the first song on the record because it is so drivey, but really and truly I probably would have put it between like First Times and Bad Habits, or maybe like Overpass Graffiti and The Joker and the Queen. Yeah. And then end with Sandman. I think that would have been the perfect song to end with, would be Sandman. Because then it's almost even like you're going to sleep. You know what I mean? Like it's the perfect ending. I don't know why he didn't really do that, but you know, to each their own. It's his album, so you know, he gets to kind of choose where it goes, and he might have had a different idea for that stuff. You know what I mean? There's maybe some underlying thought process there. But honestly, this album was pretty fantastic. I think it's going to grow on people a lot. My two favorites by far, though, are The Joker and the Queen and Sandman. You know? And I know that this one has gotten like a little bit of bad rap I've seen on YouTube, just a tad, just from looking at like thumbnails and stuff. But I think the only reason that maybe people weren't as drawn to it is because there were three, actually, what was it? There were three singles. You know, and so you kind of played all your cards. So when you get there, you're expecting even more, and there might not be enough brand new to really continue to keep you like excited and give you the same feeling that the other ones did. I could be wrong though, but anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, please check out the Patreon for extra content. Link is down in the description. And fantastic album. Go stream it. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.